Hey there, everybody. It's me, Tammy, and over here is Ms. Kathy Braxton.
Hello. How are you?
Oh, hello, Facebook Live fans and friends. How are you today?
That's right. Fantastical people everywhere. Hope you're not buried in snow. Hope you found your way out.
I know. Snow has been a fun place for us.
You know, I think you sleep in the bed you make. We chose to live here. It's one of those things. Yeah, I know. I heard you saying that last night. I'm like, honey, you picked this place.
I did, but yeah. Yes. So what she's referring to is I did a really, like, if this was caught on camera, this would have been like the perfect fall ever. You know, I not only did I fall, but I did a little bit of a slide right on my belly. It was fantastic.
And it was coming out of improv class. So everyone who was in our improv class thought you were doing it on purpose.
Yeah. Nobody came to my rescue because everybody thought I was doing it on purpose.
So we waited to see where the second act was going.
Right. Exactly. So needless to say, when you're almost 50 and you fall, then the next morning it
catches up with
presents itself.
There you go.
Okay. So we're going to talk about the basics of dementia.
We kind of dedicated February to dementia/Alzheimer's disease basics, kind of laying the foundation, because there's been a lot of questions that have been coming up.
Absolutely.
And as much as we love talking communication, I think we're not going to stop. We are not going to stop talking about communication.
Yeah.
But I think what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about things as a foundational piece to start more conversations.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
That's what we like to do. We like to talk.
Yeah, we do. We love to talk. And what we have decided is that there will be a dedicated page to this on our website. So look for it as Dementia Act I, and that's going to be understanding the basics of dementia. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to hope to hell that we don't bore you.
No, that's absolutely right. That's exactly why I think we're going to do it this way. Is we're going to talk about conversations that other people have brought up to us and what we think of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, and
no lectures.
Come on, I wanted to get out my blackboard.
Oh, lectures.
I want to lecture just a little bit. No lectures. So if you guys have questions while you're watching this today, we're really the first thing that we're going to talk about is that concept of dementia versus Alzheimer's.
Yes.
We're going to talk about that. But if you have questions right now, please post them so that in the comments, so we know what those questions are. We can answer those further. Also, if you don't want to ask them here online with us, send them to us. You can send them easily to our, send a direct message in Facebook or send them to our email address. And I'll post that in the comments here in a few minutes.
Yeah, we love doing that. We love putting our wizard hats on and diving deep into somebody's issues. That's one of our favorite things. And we love to make sure we can try to address everybody and anybody who needs help. So yeah, send them our way.
Absolutely.
So go ahead. Looks like you have something so important to say. Go ahead.
I don't know that I have something so important to say, but I think this is a topic that you and I face all the time.
Yes.
And we see it all the time. We do a monthly support group, and I think this is one of our. I don't know if I want to call it one of our triggers, but it is something that tends to trigger us for a couple of different reasons. But why don't we backtrack before we get to the triggered part and talk about because we often people say dementia and they say Alzheimer's, and they often think they're saying the same thing.
Well, and what's interesting is I think the media kind of does that. And so it encourages that type of language. It encourages people to use Alzheimer's and dementia synonymously, which already sets people up to think that they are one in the same.
Yes.
So, yes. I mean, we've even been into long-term care facilities, you and I, memory care units where a staff member is asking. Yes. And that has shocked us. So as a family member, if you're a caregiver or a family member and you don't know the difference, do not feel ashamed by this. We're here to help you right now. Let's set the record straight. Absolutely. And keep looking for more information. You will see this. We're not speculating here. We're going to tell you exactly. We're telling you fact right now, which is oftentimes not something you see on our Facebook Live. A lot of our Facebook Live is based in opinion, but this is fact for sure. So Tammy, tell us, what is the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's disease in regards to those terms?
Absolutely. So I'm gonna give a short little definition, and then I'm gonna give an example. Okay.
Perfect.
So for me, when it comes to dementia versus Alzheimer's, dementia is really, we often say it, we hear it said sometimes as the umbrella term. So Alzheimer's is a type of dementia.
Right.
So it's not wrong that it's not, people often, what dementia, Alzheimer's, that type of thing, what's the difference? Dementia is that umbrella heading. So that umbrella heading gives us a lot of information about what type of symptoms someone might see if they have actual dementia.
Right.
The big question here is, what type of dementia does someone have?
Yes.
There are over 70 different types of dementia. There might even be more than I actually even know. Mm-hmm. And I liken it to this. So my mom and my dad both actually had cancer. They both had cancer. They actually both passed away from cancer. But the one thing that happened as soon as they got a cancer diagnosis is we asked what type of cancer it was. Yes. Because we treated these two things very differently. Yes. So my dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Mm-hmm. My mom was diagnosed with colon cancer.
Right.
Two different types of cancers, treated two different ways.
Exactly.
And we also looked at what are the options are for each one of them. Exactly. What did they want to do?
Exactly.
What did they want to do?
Yeah. And, somebody just made a comment about a doctor not knowing, and I don't think that's uncommon either. And here's where it becomes difficult and where it kind of gets our goat a bit, is that when we are using the terms dementia and Alzheimer's synonymously, especially in doctors' offices, what's happening is family members are walking out with what they believe is a diagnosis, and that term is dementia. And it would just be as if Tammy's mom walked out of a doctor's diagnosis and all she could tell her daughters was, I was diagnosed with cancer. The very next question, as Tammy and her parents and your siblings probably asked, was what kind? Right, so right. No one should ever be walking out of a doctor's office thinking, I have dementia, my family member, my loved one, I have dementia. Diagnoses should not stop there. If you're walking out without something more definitive, you need to walk back in.
Yes, you do. And if that doctor, and oftentimes the person that is giving that dementia diagnosis happens to be the family doctor, right? And that doctor oftentimes doesn't have the ability to get us to what that actual diagnosis is. So at that point in time, we need to be asking that doctor, hey, I really, really, really want for you to give me a referral onto a neurologist.
Yes.
So that neurologist can start doing the testing that is needed to be done to make those determinations.
And I think what's another really interesting fact about Alzheimer's type of dementia is that it's a diagnosis of exclusion, which means that a doctor should be doing everything they can to exclude anything else as a possibility that's displaying those symptoms before they come to that definitive diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease. So we need to look at vitamin deficiencies. We need to look at urinary tract infections. We need to look at, is it Parkinson's disease? And interestingly enough, I had a friend of mine, and you'll read this in a blog I wrote, a personal friend of mine who was convinced his dad had Alzheimer's. And I jumped right on that bandwagon. I'm like, based on the symptoms you're describing to me, I think so. I did give advice to go get to a neurologist to get that checked out. And lo and behold, sadly but true, he came back with the diagnosis of a brain tumor. But imagine if he had not gone to a neurologist and done this. How amazing that would have been. He would have, either just taken my advice, which thank God he didn't. I'm glad he went and got a professional's advice.
Right.
But the treatment of that would have been so different. They may have put him on Aricept or Namenda. And now we have a brain tumor that's growing and growing. And what happened is, by getting the proper diagnosis, he got the proper care. He got to spend the last couple of nights. Yeah, he got to spend the last couple months in a comfortable bed that reclined and did what it needed to do. He moved out of the bedroom he was in and into a living room where when family came, that's where he wanted to be, was to be able to sit and look out that big bay window. Family flew in. They knew they had precious moments with him. It changed everything for those last months of his life.
And you just made a statement that I think is so important. And it is so important for us to understand what type of dementia someone has, because the care is different.
Oh, yeah.
The care is very, very different. How we're going to give care to someone with Alzheimer's versus someone that has Lewy body versus someone that has frontotemporal are very, very different. And often they present very differently. And it's so important for us to do this, because if we have someone that actually has Lewy body or frontotemporal, and we're starting to give them the meds that we would give someone with Alzheimer's, we can see a lot of problems and a lot of issues.
Right. We might exacerbate things. And so I think the one piece of care for sure that differentiates itself based on what the diagnosis is that medication, having it, not having it, supplements, whatever that might be. When it comes to communication, as Tammy and I will say, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's all about yes-anding, regardless, whether it's your husband, your spouse, your children, dementia or not. Yes, and the heck out of everybody. It's going to make everything better. Right. But what we're talking about is dementia and Alzheimer's disease. So
yeah, absolutely. And Michelle Wilson just made a really great point too. So knowing what type of dementia really helps us in determining what part of the brain is impacted.
Yeah, and you know what's so cool about that is then you can project forward what may be something I need to plan for.
Yes. That's awesome. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we actually worked with someone over this past month, and her mom actually had a hip issue, and then what happened after that is mom was placed into a skilled nursing facility. And what happened is she was immediately slapped with a diagnosis of dementia.
That was infuriating.
Oh, we have lots to say about that, right?
Yeah, that's a soapbox for another day.
Right, soapbox for another day. We have many of those. So she was and what happened is she actually entered the skilled nursing facility with a urinary tract infection. So I'm going back really quickly to what Kathy said at the very beginning, is we need to get these proper diagnoses, because maybe the confusion is just a UTI, and all that requires is an antibiotic that's going to help clear that up, right?
That's right.
So she entered the nursing home with a UTI. That UTI then cleared itself up, but she was still given this diagnosis of dementia, and she was still given Aricept.
Yes.
And it's a med that is not needed for her, because now she has gone to the neurologist and found out, you know what? She doesn't have dementia.
Yeah, how important that is. How very, very important that is.
Yeah, and
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go right ahead.
I was just going to say, there was another term that pops up a lot that people often question, and they say, what is the difference between dementia and delirium? Because they sound very similar. They're shaped, their words, their letters all look very similar. Yeah. And I think that's an interesting one too. And when you mention UTI, it brings something to me. I've worked with a lot of residents who were diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, but then would show bouts of delirium because they had a UTI. So that's a really, really interesting point. And I think if you've been a healthcare professional for 6 months and beyond, you know this as the spoken word of the universe. If a UTI is in place, it can increase confusion. It can increase a lot of things that cause problems. So if you have any form of dementia, you have to keep looking for something like that. And delirium is a short-term increase in confusion, combativeness, just an exacerbation of symptoms, so to speak.
Kind of is heightened. Almost.
Absolutely.
I'm using that improv term of heightening, right?
Heighten the scene. That's right. Heightens every scene. Certainly heighten the scene. That's right.
Absolutely. So, and I love it. Joe Waldo said absolutely. My favorite word, absolutely. So that's fabulous.
Yes.
Excuse me. I have a little bit of a tickle. So we've talked about dementia versus Alzheimer's. That's a big one. You know, what is that? You know, dementia is a group of symptoms, really.
Right.
And that Alzheimer's is a type of dementia. So we know that there's at least over 70 different types of dementia. We know that each one presents a little bit differently, shows a little bit different. Like if we look at Alzheimer's, you're going to see that memory loss coming at the beginning of that disease.
Right.
Where something like Lewy body, that's going to become later in the disease. So it's not always that it's memory loss equals dementia.
Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's, again, take away what Tammy just told you and add to that, never, ever, ever leave a doctor's office thinking that the diagnosis is the word dementia. Please never, ever please for us, please don't ever
Right.
do that. If you do, and you don't know how to go back and how to rectify that, let us know. We'll help you walk through some self-advocating steps. That's right. We'll blow some wind in your cape and give you some advocacy tips, because it is not a diagnosis. Dementia itself is not a diagnosis. It's just a group of symptoms. Don't ever let somebody walk out like that. We need to do more digging, definitely doing more digging. And it may take my time. And it's going to take more testing possibly.
Absolutely.
But the care afterwards that you receive is going to be the proper care. And that's what's most important.
Yeah, the proper care. And then, like we said, how we communicate with someone with dementia, it doesn't matter the type. We can still work through those rules that we use of improv to really help someone to be successful, no matter the type of dementia.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we want you to share your questions and your comments. If you have any questions or comments in regards to dementia, and what it is, what it looks like, all that kind of fun stuff, send them to us. You can send that to us on our Facebook. So if you want to send us a direct message, you can do that. I'm also going to be putting here in the comments our email address, because that you can send us those questions right there as well.
That's right. That's right. And you said that there's going to be, because you are the webmaster guru, wizard of all technology knowledge. Yes, I know you liked that phrase. I saw that little eyelid thing happen there. We can all communicate well. That's right, Allison. We certainly can. You said there's going to be a link on our page for this 101, this kind of Act 1, Dementia Act 1, as it were, this foundational piece.
Yeah, there's actually going to be a page. I'm going to be creating a page that will be Act 1. It will be all the Understanding Dementia Basics on it.
What kind of stuff are they going to be able to find there?
So my goal is that they're going to be able to find blogs, and they're going to be able to find these videos. So I'm going to host these videos right there on that page.
Awesome.
You're probably going to ask, when is that going to be up? I don't have an answer for you today.
I'll push her on that. Don't you worry.
But I will. It's just going to take me a little bit of time. And I do want to circle back really quickly in regards to what Michelle Wilson just put in the comments as well, because I wanted to address this really quickly. Because she said diabetes does the same as well, because it can cause confusion. So
wonderful.
That's a great comment. What's interesting is with diabetes, when blood sugar numbers are not managed very well, and sometimes that happens. It's nobody's fault. Things happen. So, for example, I have a type 1 diabetic that lives in my house. He happens to be 18, but I know when his blood sugar levels go high, he gets very moody. When they get low, there's other things that happen. So when someone that has type 2 diabetes and has dementia, you will know sometimes that the numbers are out of whack.
Wow.
Or even doesn't have dementia. You'll know when those numbers are out of whack because confusion can set in.
Awesome tip. Great tip. Again, it doesn't always mean it's going to be dementia. Maybe it is another comorbid issue you're dealing with that's not being managed well, or needs to be managed in a new or different way.
Right. Or maybe a new med needs to be looked at. We just need to look at, is it time to tweak again?
Absolutely. Kind of no shame in that. Absolutely.
Absolutely. We just have to exclude all those wonderful things in there.
Yes.
Okay. So what I have done is in the comments, I have put our email address, which is sdti@dementiaraw.com. So you guys can send us any questions that you have. And
we really look forward to fielding those questions. Anything that has to do with dementia and Alzheimer's, if it's anything, throw it our way. I'm not going to put a caveat on that, because again, this is February. February we are dedicating to Dementia Foundation Act 1. And Michelle, you are so right. Sleep deprivation is a huge part. Oh my gosh, how did we forget to mention that? That's like one of our biggest soapboxes we like to stand on.
Absolutely.
Get enough sleep. Please encourage anyone you're caring for to get the proper amount of sleep. Please. It's so important. And Michelle, you're right. As Tammy and you have discussed on some of our CDCS calls, it does seem to be a huge indication of one of those risk factors, a big risk factor for developing a form of dementia.
Yes.
Whichever form that might be, whether it's Alzheimer's or another type, I don't know.
the research is really evolving now in regards to those risk factors, in regards to what causes dementia, and specifically Alzheimer's. And one of the biggest risk factors that keeps coming up now keeps coming up is that fact that we're not giving ourselves enough sleep. That's right. And we're not clearing all that gunk out of the lymphatic system. So it's really important that we protect our sleep, that if we're snoring, that we're getting that checked out. And maybe we need a CPAP. What are those things? Yes, you become Darth Vader. Looking at those things, are you someone that needs a short nap during the day? Those are all positive things. Yes. We need to look at being healthy with our sleep as well. So, So I think Michelle Wilson gets the gold star of the day.
That's
with
right.
all the things that she's brought to our attention. That's awesome.
And just a quick fact on that, when it comes to, and drug-induced dementia, you are so right, which could have been exactly the resident we were speaking of, the one with the broken hip. Were we seeing an increase in some confusion there, and they were willing to leave the diagnosis, not clearly accurate at all, but a word named dementia on her chart because they were giving a medication that wasn't accurate for her. So you're absolutely right about that. But when it comes to sleep, remember, anybody who's got an we all have older brains, we're all aging. And as we age, remember that stage 1 sleep, that one where you're like dozing off on the couch kind of thing, that increases. And that stage 3 sleep, where that's REM, where, as Tammy used that big word, lymphatic system, that's going to decrease over time just because our brains age, and that's what happens, which means you're at a lot more risk of becoming even more confused if you have Alzheimer's disease, if you're not protecting your sleep. Yes. Incredibly important, because that system doesn't kick in and it's not clearing out the gunk that we need to clear out. So great point on that. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right. Whew, that was a lot today, wasn't it?
I didn't think we'd have anything to talk about.
I know. Well, you know what? Allison gave Michelle the gold star, so I'm excited that we've been able to do that. So I think we're going to close out for today, and we will be back next week.
That's right.
Same time, same bat station, and we'll be talking about the basics of dementia. And Kathy is rolling out some great blogs, so those will be posting up, and I'll probably be putting the first blog right into our newsletter that's going to go out tomorrow. So if you're not on that list, let me know. I'll get you on that list so you can get that information as well.
That's right. I'm sorry, Michelle, we do have to leave for today.
We do. Back. We love you, Hey, we love everybody. Tune in next week, and we will talk to you all soon. So peace out.
Bye-bye.